Happy holidays, horror aficionados. We are continuing our discussion from the book Taking Shape, Developing Halloween from Script to Scream, and I think we are ready for Halloween 2. So let's talk a little bit about Rick Rosenthal and the shit he got himself into. So it's pretty common knowledge amongst Halloween fans that Carpenter and Hill did not want to make a Halloween 2, or at least they didn't want to work on it, right? But they eventually agreed so that they could gain some kind of, financial independence, because they did not get paid out the way they should have for the original movie. So this was an opportunity to actually get some monetary reward for the masterpiece that they created. And, this kind of thing goes back, you could take this back 1,000 years. This is something that artists have always struggled with, is to have independence in their lives and in their work. So we all pretty much know about the quote from John Carpenter where, he basically says, he was sitting up late at night, really frustrated and drinking a lot of beer whilst he was trying to write a script for Halloween 2. Now, upon completion of the script, he hated it. Deborah Hill hated it. Mustafa hated it. Everyone hated the script, and nobody wanted to direct it. Carpenter was like, hell no. Now, according to the book, Deborah Hill did want to get into directing, but she didn't want her debut film to be on a sequel. And especially not this sequel, right? Even Tommy Lee Wallace was like, fuck no, and fuck this script, this is terrible. So they found this cat out of Harvard by the name of Rick Rosenthal. And you know what? He also hated the script. And so he signed on, but I kind of get the idea that he didn't really know what he was getting himself into. And he pretty much just signed up to be a paid fall guy, if you will. So I just picked out some snippets for you guys, and obviously I'm just paraphrasing this. So Dino De Laurentiis was now involved because he bought out Irwin Yablans. So it appears one day Rick Rosenthal was sitting in the editing room, and Dino was in there interfering. And he was telling Rick Rosenthal to get rid of the scene with, the razor blade and the apple. And so Rick Rosenthal had to tell this dude, like, hey, look, man, I don't know who has final cut here. If it's you, if it's Deborah, if it's John. But what I can tell you is that Deborah and John love this scene. So, you got to go talk to them. Y'all got to work it out. Get out of my face, basically. But it's just a snippet of what this guy had to deal with. So he's the director. But everything he wants to do, he's got to run it through Carpenter. He's got to run it through Deborah Hill. And who knows who else. And according to the book, Rick Rosenthal wanted to make Halloween 2 more in line with the original film. And they weren't having it. Because, at this point, slashers had really taken off. And so they felt like they needed to keep up with the blood and gore. Now, Carpenter didn't want to direct it, but he went off and he shot a bunch of footage to add additional gore and to come up with a specific version for the infamous TV version. Now, they did kind of cave in and make some concessions towards Rick Rosenthal and the casting, according to the book. But ultimately, it's not really his film. It's just, he directed, and then everything had to be filtered through this other network that he was not a part of. And so, according to the way it sounds in this book, it sounds like a really shitty situation to me. And there's a really shitty comment in here from John Carpenter. And let me just be clear. I love John Carpenter's work. I consider myself a student of his. I studied all of his films. I study his music. But this is pretty shitty. So according to the book, he said that he didn't feel like Rick Rosenthal had a good handle on the material. Let me say that again. He didn't feel like Rick Rosenthal had a good handle on the material. Well, I'm sorry. What material would that be? Because would that be the script that everybody hated, including you? So, if he hated the script, clearly he had a pretty good handle on the material, and he hated it just like everybody else. So, bottom line here, if you have a problem with Halloween 2, don't blame Rick Rosenthal, okay? Because from everything I've seen in this book, he was in a really shitty situation. All right, guys, that's it. Again, I highly recommend this book. Again, the book is Taking Shape, Developing Halloween from Script to Scream. It's available in audiobook. So I tell you what, like I say, if you got some serious driving around to do this holiday season, this would be a perfect companion for you. Now, you guys feel free to leave your comments on these, because I'm planning on doing the entire book, just giving you guys some little snippets here and there. And I love incorporating your comments into future videos, just like we did with the alternative masks. So you guys feel free to leave your comments. Nothing but the best wishes to you and your family. These are crazy times. Be safe out there. Happy holidays. This is Frank Midnight signing off.